We'll get the stream going. Let me get my second monitor going on Facebook. Looks like people are sharing all kinds of stuff already. Alright, you guys ready? We got that music playing right now. Let's go live, guys. Off for the camera because we are now, should be live right now. It's Sunday. It's a great day to be in Hawaii. We're a week removed from the hurricane that thankfully never came. But I got my super fans with me, my boys in the house. We got a lot to talk about today. We got some exciting stuff. If you're catching up with Last Chance U, we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about a UH player. Breaking news. The first one testing positive for COVID. So here we go, guys. Training camp's supposed to start. I'm going to bring the music down. And let's talk. Last Chance U. I don't know. Which one do you guys want to talk about first? Because, we were going to just do a Last Chance U. And, it's just an exciting season. I was telling them, I've watched every season of Last Chance U. I think it's the 5th season. And just the way that they capture the game, the way that they capture the drama, the way that they capture the realness. I mean, it's real reality television. I live in Hollywood most of the time. I work in Hollywood. I know what reality television looks like. And this isn't. I mean, this is raw emotion. And we got a guy next to me. If you look in that image you got next to me this way, that's Dior Walker-Scott. He is the star of that show, really. I mean, they follow a few players on the team around. So Last Chance U follows a junior college football team. They did East Mississippi Community College. They did Independence Community College in Kansas. So they followed two schools previously who were like excellent schools. Laney won the national championship and state championship in California, which is a big deal. They won that last year. So the crew then followed Laney for the 2019 season, starting from the beginning to the end. You talk about community colleges, how different it is, really, how hugely different. And why do kids go to community college? Let's be honest. They don't qualify, most of them, for the NCAA, whatever D1 standards are, D2. And they ain't going to get in any D3 school if they don't have those any kind of grades. So the thing is, when we look at this program, when we look at this level, when we look at this team and this level, this is where we've been getting a lot of our players from at UH. This is a major feeder for mid-majors, this level. And from California, of course, Colt Brennan. How many people we had come from community college, from the junior college circuit. So Jared Smart, also part of this Laney College team that was featured. But Dior Walker-Scott spotted on Oahu. And actually by the end of the no spoilers, small kind spoilers. By the end, because we're talking about him right now, by the end you find out that he is on Oahu. It looks like he's in Palolo somewhere in a house. So that's what it looks like by the angles. But I want to bring on my super fans, my boys, Lao Head, Shane Agno, and of course, my boy Sean Iman, always there to talk UH football. And this is a UH football meets pop culture, meets Oakland grit. But Shane Agno, I'm going to talk to you first, Shane. What is it? What has it been like for you watching the show, first of all?
Yeah, it's been pretty. With just waiting for the itch for football to start. And like I told you guys earlier, I'm always on top of Hawaii football, and I always look for the latest news. I try to post it on my HawaiiFootball.net page. So I was wondering why every time I would Google Hawaii football news, it would pop up with this, where's Dior Walker-Scott now? Last Chance U players. Like, how come they keep bringing this up? And I never clicked on any article, but then after you guys started talking about it, what's going on? So I started watching it, like, this guy's come. And then they just released the roster on Friday, and then he's on our roster. I'm like, holy crap, nobody ever talked about this guy coming to Hawaii. Him and that, I didn't even realize that Nishigawa, the stud from St. Louis, is on our roster too. I was like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Sean, what about you, Sean?
So I'm totally late to the game. It's been in my to watch list, and I've just never got around to it. So Wayne told me like we were gonna be talking about it today, so I started watching yesterday. But like I'm like totally hooked. Like I'm 4 episodes in. It's a great show. Like good camera angles. There's a lot of drama. It really digs into the player's background. Like just the struggle. I mean, the struggle is real with these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Housing, like social problems, abuse. Just anything you can think of, homelessness. So it's a great show. Like, and if you're a UH football fan, you need to be watching this. There's a lot of UH references, and there's a lot of things that it's like Devon Betts' jersey is hanging on the coach's wall.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many players that came to our program from that area. Skyline's a pipeline,
Mm-hmm.
absolute pipeline to the JCs and eventually to UH. So.
Well, I'm going to start bringing in some fans because I hope some of you have watched. Join us in the comments because I want to hear what you think about the show. Keone says, I wish we got Nu'u. And Nu'u is another one of the players that was followed. He's a Tongan kid from the Bay Area. He's married, and if you want to hear Hawaii references, they don't say this explicitly, but his wife is Hawaiian, and you can tell because her parents are Hawaiian. Her maiden name is Hawaiian, and they go to a luau, and they interview his mom, who's Tongan, and she talks about this is like the Tongan way, and they're at a Hawaiian luau though, because you could tell they were like, I mean, they probably had Tongan food there. I mean, it could have been a Tongan. It was a mix. It was a baby luau, so it was a mix, but the house it was at, because I was like, that's not kind of like a Tongan house. It looks kind of like Hawaiian, and then you saw the flag upside down too. So all kinds of little gems there. If you're from Hawaii, if you know our culture at all, you're gonna see a lot of it on display here. I mean, start with the coach, John Beam. So a lot of it follows the coach himself. And if you look at previous seasons, Coach Jason Brown last year and the year before on Last Chance U, is a guy who was potty mouth, freaking like gangster, trying to be white dude or whatever he was, but he's fun TV. I mean, at the end of the day, he's just fun TV, and they have a whole episode of him last season just talking about how much his stardom has happened because of the show, and that's what we're talking about. This is on Netflix. Everybody watches Netflix. This is huge. So whatever can go to a person on the show, that kind of fame, that kind of followership will go to them to whatever team they go to. Hint, hint. And this guy is clearly bringing a followership with him already, Dior Walker-Scott. But back to Coach John Beam, half Korean, which is another thing is crazy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Hapa, right? And, he's like, and he's a guy that always had a good relationship with the coaches, right, at UH, or tried to keep one, and understands the culture. Rob DeMello, shout out to him. Good interview he did with John Beam, I just saw. And I think, like... he is, all of this is just positive for the program, and that this type of exposure for the team, and they even say it at the end, he's trying to go to Hawaii, he says Hawaii over and over again, Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. I mean, this only helps the program. First of all, I don't know why other schools, I've watched this season, it was my 5th season, and I'm like, wow, why don't people just call some of these guys or like tweet at them, like, because some of these guys are like struggling during the season. They're like, I can't get to D2. I can't. And obviously, we're watching it on a delay, so it's kind of late by the time. Honestly, these guys, it's kind of unfair for some of these guys who are sophomores, and the show doesn't come out till later. They really don't get that exposure for the recruiting for them to go to D1 or D2s or whatever the next year. But Nu'u, a Tongan guy, I don't know if he had the grades, honestly, and it sounds like he didn't have very good grades coming out of high school, which is why most of these kids go to junior college. A. B, like, go back to Sean's point about how difficult it is there. They don't have tuition waivers. They don't have scholarships. So you have guys like, I don't know if some of them, they said maybe some of them do, but like literally the football team is bringing kids on campus to pay scholarships, so you're helping the school. And then finally they don't give them housing. And, I had a friend who watches the show actually sometimes, one of my best friends, and he played junior college at Pasadena and at Riverside Community Colleges, and it's a grind there. I mean, when he first got there, he was in a 2-bedroom apartment with 12 guys, and other polys, so it's like, it's a grind. But Dior Walker-Scott himself, let's just go back to that guy, because he has been, I mean, literally they ran out of, all 3 of their quarterbacks got hurt, so they called on him to play quarterback as well. And Shane, just talk about what you were impressed by with that transition.
I'm just impressed with his what do you call it? Not stamina, but just his desire to keep going, and he has to work part time. He said he works at Wingstop, 8 to 12 every day. He got to go sleep out of his car, and he's just a team guy. He's willing to do whatever it takes, and it put so much pressure on him that he was even causing him to get those chest pains and stuff. So it's like, man, I was really impressed. I mean, he's just like an underdog. You can't help but root for the guy and just want him to do well, because he's like giving like everything that he has just to make a name for himself, especially with his past and how his story with his father and stuff like that. So it's intriguing, man.
Yeah,
very intriguing.
Very intriguing. That is a good word for it, because he has some ridiculous athleticism. One of my favorite plays from that one, where it's a bad snap. They're on like the goal line, 3-yard line or something.
2-yard line.
2-yard line. Bad snap, and the coach is telling him to like fall on it, right? No, he picks it up and runs back around and scores a touchdown, and jumps over a guy on the goal line to score the touchdown. So like it seemed to me it played like a team. Feather River. I'm not sorry if you're a Feather River. I can't even say it. Feather River person, but maybe their team wasn't very good because it seemed like they destroyed them. But he was a crazy athlete. I mean, if you look at it just at a high school, if they're just playing at a high school level, which it is not, it's a higher than high school, especially in California. It's pretty amazing. So it's a stud guy. It does show. It does seem like people are not able to I like how the show kind of shows you the struggle, but it talks about kind of the other side as well, how the human side of these kids. And Dior certainly has a very human side of him with his dad, that relationship there. And Sean, you want to talk about that too?
Well, it's just how can you not want that guy on your team? Like, he's undersized, but like he's a total playmaker. And it's like going back to like Jeff Seidner or John Ursula. All these guys are undersized, and we can use them in the slot. Yeah. He's a team player. Like he went to quarterback, to his own detriment. Yeah. I just think he's a playmaker. Like, and to get him as a preferred walk-on is just gold. And not only that, like, this show is like exposure for Hawaii. It's like a recruiting tool for Hawaii. So it's like, how can you not want that like on your team? Okay, so and going back to another one of our famous alumni, it's like James Fenderson slept in his car and ate Simon every day, and he made 7-8 years in the NFL. So like that really hits home, and it's like you gotta root for that guy, and I don't see how you don't want that on your team. Like, and going back to your question about the relationship with his father, I mean, yeah, that's tough. And it's just, there's all these obstacles these guys have to get over to, not only get on the field, but to just live life. Yeah. So it's tough, but it's inspiring at the same time.
So a lot of these, it's a good show. Like you said, it is a great show because these kids are so open. So you do get to see parts of them that, people don't see all the time, right? So it's hard. It's easy to judge sometimes, but you don't have cameras following you everywhere, and you gotta, they catch everything you say, especially when you're playing, right? You don't realize they mic'd you up, but it's funny because Dior said last night. He also said on the show, I was watching again last night, that preferred walk-on is disrespectful. So those are his exact words, which I'm sure he doesn't mean in the case of us. I think he's very appreciative of it. But, these kids they have one singular goal. I think I watched on a previous season, the academic advisor talked about how like 95% of the kids believe they're going to the NFL. Like, it's that level. Because a lot of these kids are so talented, like, they just expect to go to the NFL. They're like, well, I didn't get into college, 4-year schools. which was clearly new. And when I go back to the guy new, the Tongan kid, it would be. I was thinking that too. I was like, he'd be perfect at UH, but our line is really solid though right now for one thing.
Right.
And
One.
you know, the fact is he plagiarized on national TV on one of his papers, which is not the best way, not the best look on national TV. Not to say that nobody else has ever plagiarized a paper, but don't do that. Don't plagiarize. And second of all, you know, he's such a lovable guy, though. He is. He's a very lovable guy. So even all the stuff they show about him, he's just another dude, and he would be perfect, I think, at UH. But it looks like he's going to Murray State, so FCS school. So he still did pretty well there. But the show and all, the dad, Dior's dad, is like really aggressive with his parenting. Like he made him. He talks about how he made Dior hit a tree when he learned how to hit because he was scared to hit in the game. So he took him outside and made him hit trees and hit with his shoulder pad. And he also talked about Dior said he made him wear girls' clothes to school when he did something to a girl. I mean, like, yeah. So everybody's got some issues, but at the same time, I think the show does a good job of being balanced with all of those things and showing, like, not to judge people, but just as real life. And these kids, especially at this level, at junior college level, they experience such huge hardships that a lot of kids at, you know, the D1 level, at our level, UH particularly, they don't have to deal with. So it looked like he had a room. So in the show, they showed him with a room at the end. It was like an extremely Spartan setup with like with like not even on TV, like a bed and a pillow. But hey, it's a room, and it looks like he lives in Palolo or something. Somewhere really nice. Possibly Manoa Valley, honestly. I mean, the way that it looked at the end. So you have to go and watch it. But you know, the show itself, you hear so much from the players, and you hear what they say. Is it weird, Shane, to hear what the players say all the time? Like, what does it make you think of some? I mean, just because we get all the conversations. This is like not even just NFL films. This is like kids talking. So it sounds even more foolish sometimes because you're like, oh, they're such kids. They don't know any better sometimes. But, I mean, like the kids yelling D1 or I'm going to NFL. I'm the best in the country. And it's cool because I love the fire. That's one thing in junior college. They have that fire that we need, especially at our level. Like even if they're undersized kids, even if they're like, you know, just gems that haven't been discovered yet. You see that. But also, I know since you've never seen the show before, this is also must have been a weird thing, right? Seeing that. What was it like?
Well, I mean, I watched all the Hard Knocks, so it's pretty much similar to Hard Knocks. But I think it's a little more genuine with the fact that it's real kids, It's not like guys that's already in the professional level, It's like kids struggling, trying to just get to Division I football.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it seems real, because like, not to be cliche, but the struggle is real for these kids.
Mm-hmm.
I know just to be a student athlete alone, it's difficult with everything on your plate.
Yeah.
But for these student athletes, oh my gosh! I mean, sleeping in your car. Some guys have money for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
That guy Ray gotta drive 2 hours from Stockton because to live in Oakland in the area, it's just too expensive. They can't afford to live by campus, so it's just like the struggle is real for these kids, man. And like Sean. Just to emphasize on what Sean said earlier, who wouldn't want, one of these guys on your team? It just shows their, endurance and their drive and their passion. Like Coach Beam always says, play with passion, man. Play with passion. So, I mean, these kids are playing with passion, And this still, like, was it because they couldn't do spoilers or something that UH never announced or said anything? Because wouldn't this be a good marketing thing for UH to at least say, last chance you meet the latest player, right? To come from Last Chance U, who's now at UH. I mean, wouldn't that have been like a good marketing plan to engage?
Shane, are you criticizing UH marketing?
I'm just saying, even like me, as a huge fan that I am, and I didn't even know that he was on our roster. I'm like, oh, what is going on here? Like, nobody said a single thing about it. So was it like a contract that this is a Netflix, so
No,
we have to sign a
you're
contract
looking
that
way
we
too
play
deep
same
into
thing?
this, Shade. No, you're looking way too deep into this. No, way too deep.
He's a preferred walk-on. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what we're doing right now is UH marketing. Let's be honest. That's what this is. That's what that is. That's what this story is. That's what this show is. And I'm okay with it because we're fans. We're the super fans of the team. So I see it as my responsibility as well. But at the end of the day, any attention that comes, you better somehow latch onto it. And Dior is getting significant social media presence.
Capitalize on it, right?
And he, the show just came out too. So in the school's defense, not that they jump on things really fast, typically anyway. But the show just came out recently, so we'll see. And we don't want him to be treated any different as all the other players do.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's any special, but at the same time, you need to be able to capitalize, like you said. I don't want to say capitalize it because it is kind of capitalized, make money off of it. But any attention is good, especially now, especially with the uncertainty. Player testing positive, could be him. Who knows? I mean, I'm not speculating, but I'm saying it could be anybody. We don't know who it is. They live off campus, so they live with other players. So very likely that other players were infected as well. But at the same time, like, we don't know everything. We don't know the whole story yet, but it's going to push things back. It already did one day, so training camp was supposed to start tomorrow. Now it's going to start on Tuesday. But now that we are pushed back another day, I mean, is that sufficient? I mean, I have no idea why. I don't know what the plan is from here, but I mean, what do you guys think? What are we going to do?
Well, like get used to it, because a lot of things are going to get pushed back, whether it be a day, a week, a month, or into the spring. I just think you need to get used to it. This is the environment. This is the conditions we're living under, and I think this is how it's going to be. And if one player has it, there's a good chance that more players have it. So it's a tough deal.
Yeah, it is a tough deal. I mean, as much as I kept trying to be optimistic about it, but deep down I knew that it's only a matter of time till somebody gets it. And one day, to delay it one day, I mean, what really difference does that make? One day. So I don't know what maybe they're just delaying it one day so they can figure out what to say next. But I really don't know. Yeah, I really don't know.
Well, that's the problem, is everything is a whole bunch of I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
Everything is I don't know. So...
I'm waiting.
What do you think?
You guys are telling me, no, I brought you guys on. I talk about this all the time. I've been talking about this since March, since we started. I mean, I think back and it was. I mean, somebody who might not be listening, who we might text with, said that he was going to put everything on it that we had football season. And I mean, it just is hard when we live in this country. That's the only problem. We're the worst at this disease, at this infection.
The NFL, they're getting paid a lot of money, compared to regular
but
people.
we don't even know the NFL is going to happen. We don't even know if the NFL is going to happen. That is the thing.
But I mean, these are kids that are just getting a scholarship, and you're going to put them in harm's way, for what? It's crazy. It's crazy. I want to see football. I want to see UH play, but not at the expense of these kids' health. Not at the expense of their family's health. And I think a lot of people feel that way. But it just seems like they're hell bent on trying. They're going forward. They keep pressing forward.
Well, I mean, NFL, Well, what are you gonna say, Shane? What were you gonna say? Go for it.
I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh. Because now I'm wondering if we go even further into the discussion. Like, what if these kids do play and then they get sick? Mm-hmm. Are they going to sue the school, or you know what I mean? That could be the next thing.
Okay, so you bring up a good point. So actually, this is a good segue because I don't know if you guys saw the Pac-12 students created like a list of things that they wanted to see done. I'm trying to find it, but I don't know if you saw. So
List.
yeah, they had like so the Pac-12 student athletes. I don't know who made it, so there were no names attached to it. The one that I saw at least, and it looked like they asked for a few things. One, that you can opt out and not have it count against your eligibility, which seems like a okay reason.
Good. That's fair.
Another one was to have, and I'm saying they have a lot. A lot of them has to do with the safety right now, but also going forward, which I love. Like having medical insurance at least 6 years after, which is vital because kids. I mean, most of us still have. I still have injuries from college that I still take care of, that I pay for to nurse. I mean, it was my fault for playing the sport. But, at the same time, a lot of these guys are going to do damage forever, and to whatever, chronic, like for me, my shoulder, my rotator cuff here, I have bursitis. Like, there's stuff that forever. And I didn't even have to hit guys, and it's like some of these guys getting hit, they need it. And it's only fair that they have insurance. So I get that. They also said something about 6 years or paying for 6-year scholarships, so being able to go to grad school as well, which I like as well, because if you're going to say, oh, we're giving you education, okay, well, give me an education that's commensurate with like a higher pay, which is like you need basically grad. If you're going to go the education route, like academic route, you probably want a master's degree now, even more than the bachelor's degree, if you want to get the same amount of money that you probably could have got for a bachelor's degree 20 years ago. So little things like that, I would encourage people to go look it up. It's a Pac-12 players speaking out, and a lot of them, one of them too, it was about Stanford should immediately restore the programs using their reserve tank, which is 37 point something billion dollars. So they have a reserve of all of this money, yet they canceled. How many sports did we say they canceled? 17 sports?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so I love this. So the very first line, if you look, it's on the Players Tribune, #WeAreUnited. To ensure generations of college athletes will be treated fairly because NCAA sports exploit college athletes physically, economically, and academically, and also disproportionately harm black college athletes. And it keeps going on, and it's really good. I really like it. And, this is just the beginning. Kids are going to just get more progressive. Kids are going to just be more vocal about what they believe in and what they believe they are due. And let's face it, guys for years who played at UH even, who have been gotten hurt at UH, who've gotten concussions at UH, who've then gotten into trouble after UH, they still had put their bodies on the line for the school. And a lot of these guys have done it throughout the years at different colleges. So this is what the Pac-12 players are saying. They want to allow the option of not to play. They want to prohibit the COVID-19 agreements that waive liability. So a lot of people are saying that too. If you're signing a liability waiver, right? You're like about to go into practice, and they're like, "Well, sign this waiver because if you die, you can't sue us." Like,
we're not responsible.
Just making people sign that. I mean, Herman Cain signed one when he went to a Trump rally, and we know how that one turned out for him. So
it didn't end up well for him.
That's what happens that's how serious this is, though. And so it's real. I mean, if we do have a player that dies of this, can you imagine? They're like, oh, well, they signed agreement. I mean, it's crazy.
I'm pretty sure that this came from one of the Cal schools. I'd bet money on it.
Probably. I would imagine one of the schools from within California. Yes, probably Stanford, UCLA, or Berkeley. Absolutely, it's great. That's why I love it so much, because the reason I like it, though, it's really long, but it has very clear-cut points of action that can be taken one way. Form a permanent civic engagement task force made up of our leaders. In partnership with the Pac-12, 2% of conference revenue would be directed by players to support financial aid for low-income black students, community initiatives, and develop programs for college athletes on campus. Yes. Distribute 50% of each sport's total conference revenue evenly among athletes in their respective sports. So, I mean, this is the beginning. This is not because,
That's pretty bold. That's pretty bold, yeah. But, yeah, who's to say they're not they're not deserving of that. So.
Exactly.
Ability to compete, eligibility after participating in a pro draft if player goes undrafted and forgoes professional participation within 7 days of the draft. I don't see how that one. Yeah, I don't see how that's wrong at all either.
Right.
You know, and I think like we have to be honest. Like, yeah, you can't say like, okay, someone signed up for a pro draft. I mean, as long as I guess they weren't taking money, but you can take. But now that they want to be able to take money for their likeness, which they should, that's another question with Last Chance U as well. Who's getting paid and who and where? That's what I also want to know.
From the actual show.
Because the irony of that show is that they talk about college athletes being exploited all the time on that show.
Yeah, so that's one of the most interesting thing is you've got all these like nice camera shots, and it's this ghetto team. But that's what's awesome is because it's so real. So
you know, it's very that's an interesting word to use for Oakland, but I know you're a Seattle Mariners fan and I'm an Angels fan, so you know Oakland is harsh. But you know I have a love-hate relationship with Oakland. I was there. There's that scene where the cop who used to play for Laney goes and tells the prostitute to run away, and like a guy in the truck to scatter. He was just like, "You guys know what you're doing," and then they get scared and run away. But that area, I remember running down that area after the finals game, after the Raptors beat the Warriors last year, and I needed to get back to SoCal, but I was in NorCal, and all the flights left, so I had to get on a Greyhound in the middle of Oakland, and I ran, and I was like, man, Oakland is crazy. But they're right. I ran through a block of like super gentrified, like white ladies, like walking poodles at like I'm talking midnight, and then the next block over was not that at all. And quite the opposite. And you know that was a struggle that they talked about a lot on the show as well. They talked about how people are in Oakland particularly are blue collar people. They're trying to find a way out. And Sean's wearing the beast mode, and you saw that beast mode had beast mode obviously one of the best athletic products that came out of Oakland. And they had the Beast Mode on their back, so I guess Beast Mode had sponsored some of their jerseys.
Yeah.
And I think that that just shows how tight they are at Oakland, and I feel bad for them. I mean, they lost two pro teams, in a matter of 1 year, and I know there are a lot of Oakland people. A lot of them carried the Warriors, particularly for a long time. So losing them is huge, and then losing the Raiders, and then they just got to worry about the A's and. I mean, the A's keep doing it with their money balls, so who knows? Maybe they'll make it to a World Series. But what did you think about just the grit, like seeing the play, Shane, or anything that evoked memories for you? I know you have family in California as well, or any part of the show particularly that you could relate to?
What do you mean? Just as far as it being in California?
Or just the show itself, yeah. Like how Sean talked about, like it shows the grit. I mean, I think the show does a good job of showing for the non-football fan. So you shouldn't just watch. I mean, it reminded me a lot of like Friday Night Lights, which I think is one of the best series. I mean, good book, good movie, but TV series just really good in capturing a segment of Americana, of sports, of sporting life. Like having the players, having the buses, having the fans, having the wife. Nu'u, they talk about Nu'u, the Tongan kid, his wife, who's Hawaiian, she graduated from nail school. She went to learn how to do nails, right? So they did a whole thing in the last episode showing her graduation, and it was cool. I mean, that was a part of it. Like, it shows how supportive the other halves are, the partners are for these players, for these coaches, and I thought that's what the show captured well. But, I mean, it also surprised me at how much access they had to some of the kids, and also all the swearing for sure. Like they wanted every swear word possible.
Yeah, so like if you don't.
So fair warning, if you don't like swearing, I don't know. Can you turn it off? I mean, I don't. To me, it's so normal. It's like football. It's like I'm pretty desensitized to it. But if you are not desensitized to the F word, oh no, then you better be scared to watch it because they say it a lot. So.
Well, especially when there's competition involved.
Exactly.
It's just hard to control your emotions and your speech, and it's funny because now that there's no fans in the sports, you can hear the players and them yelling, cursing. It's like, oh my god. It's
Yeah, in
like,
baseball, you can hear the I got it now from like the players.
so,
Yeah, my mom grew up in San Francisco. She was not allowed to hang out in Oakland at all. She could not cross the bridge. So that was like my grandma's rule for her. But yeah, the area is gritty. Skyline is just an institution. So many players have come out.
Talk about Skyline. Yeah, talk about that in relationship to UH.
Yeah, that coach. I mean, to go from there and he had lots of opportunities to move on. To go for himself. But he's all about the kids in that area, and he's loyal. He's loyal to the soil, man. Like that guy, you can't front on him, and he knows his stuff. He knows what it takes, like an NFL player when he sees one. So, shout out to JoJo Ward, scoring a touchdown.
Oh yeah. That was a great part.
Oh,
So just to rewind, okay. Last chance we didn't talk about Rajon at all, but Rajon is their stud player who goes to Oregon State, and he talks about himself a lot. And I mean, whatever, it is what it is. Like his grandpa tells him that's who you are. I mean, he does need to know when to turn it off for other coaches. I do think these kids, I've never seen the way that athletes talk to coaches. I'm blown away. I would never talk to my coach the way some of these kids talk to their coach. But no, it's crazy how some of these kids talk to their coaches. My dad was a coach. Obviously, I've had him on the show, and it's even if it was my dad, I wouldn't talk to him.
How could they show those highlights though? Wasn't that who had that broadcast? Was it ESPN or was that a Pac-12? Was that a Pac-12?
That was they were watching Spectrum. It was Spectrum.
It was Spectrum.
Yeah.
I think that game was on CBS.
No, they were watching. Yeah, it might have been, but it was Spectrum. It was a Spectrum broadcast because it had Spectrum Sports. When they showed them in the backyard, they were in Stockton. The family's in Stockton watching the brother. So Rajon on the team. His brother played for Laney last year. He plays for Oregon State now. Rajon, wants to follow his brother's footsteps. Go D1. He's like, I'm the best player in California. I'm the best corner, number 3 in the country or whatever. The whole show he just says that. But they show him at home with his family in Stockton watching the brother at Oregon State play UH, play us, and they're like, oh, there he is. He gets to the game, and then he gets burned for a touchdown. JoJo Ward takes him. That was awesome.
It was great.
I know, we're gonna have to cue it. Cue the tape. Cue the tape right here. Let's watch it over again. Okay, that's for the promo, but I mean, I had to get that in there right there. But
I thought you really.
I was gonna say
I gotta go find it. You gotta let me know what episode. If you guys find it, I'm definitely gonna put it on. But I mean, I love that Grandpa's reaction. He was so mad, and it was nice. But all the Hawaii references. That's another one. I mean, that's so many Hawaii gems. I watched 4 seasons of the show before. No Hawaii, maybe one reference I could get. There's always a Hawaii reference somewhere, but this show has so much, and literally every player. That RJ kid. So they always had the Howley kid, who was gonna try and get it. He was talking a lot of trash to his coach too. I was like, bro, the way he was talking, he was so good.
He looks like Cole McDonald, kind of.
Yeah, he does kind of. Yeah.
Kind of.
The thing about the show is when cameras follow you around for a long time, you forget that they're there.
Yeah.
So watching that, it's those kids say some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
Well, Dior himself.
Their coaches and their parents and their girlfriend, they forget about it's capturing all that, and it's it's crazy. They say it in a vacuum, and the kind of stuff they say it's that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah. It's very real. Very real.
Yeah.
Extremely real. And
I sense that. Yeah.
So when we talk about the reality of it, though, for instance, you can tell in some shows, you watch reality shows, you can tell when the producer is okay, say this or whatever, and then say this for the camera. This was just cool because you could tell the camera angle might not have been there. There's one time they had to whip it around when the coach was yelling at the quarterback and they were shooting something else. So the way that they shot this was very similar, but even, and as much as I love Hard Knocks because I mean it's the best. It's the NFL, but you know like this is a more intimate look at football at a level because Hard Knocks everybody in their show is rich. Like every single person in the show is rich, which is great to watch rich players do rich things and you know floaties in the back of their pools in the middle of training camp
it's
day.
nice. It's nice to watch kids that don't have a marketing team, that don't have endorsements. You know, I think there's something to say about the struggle, you know, that we all can relate to, like being in college and like trying to rub two pennies together, you know, not knowing where your next meal is coming from. Yeah. I think there's something very like real about that. So, you know, like who can relate to a quarterback that makes $40 million a year? It's like, you know, like not anybody watching this or, you know, that I'm talking to right now. So it's just, it's a very interesting aspect of the show. So I think we should all get free Netflix next month for the commercial that we just ran for them for the last 40 minutes.
I'm sure this and the 500 other people talking about it right now would love to get free Netflix. But I mean, I think what Netflix has done, because Netflix is who they are already, and they are, you know, a media giant, is that they've created a platform for stories that are not told very often, and this is definitely one of them that's not very often told, and that's because a lot of people skip over junior college. We don't even have it in Hawaii. I mean, this whole time. So I used to work actually. Shout out some of the people who used to be with me. Hawaii College Football League. Actually, in 2013, we tried to start a league, and we had teams at Chaminade, HBU, trying to make LCC team 8-man, and we even had some games. So, and it was rough. But I think like if we're behind it, if we look at sports as also a driver of getting kids to go to college, as so on that side as well, it's not just like, oh, athletics are so expensive, but look at athletics as a driver for your enrollment. You know, and if you have D2 sports at West Oahu, that'll change the game there. That's what they were talking about forever. But I mean, even if you have community college sports, I think community college football would work really well. And I think a lot of kids, particularly the ones that don't have the grades, is what really junior college is about at the end of the day, is either you're really good, but you don't do your work. I don't want to say really dumb. I used to think it was just kids are dumb, but they're not. It's just kids are lazy. Most aren't just lazy. They don't want to do the work.
They have stuff that they need to work on, whether it be on or off the field.
Oh, for sure. And they show a lot of that in this, too, right? New plagiarizing his paper. That was so awkward because the teacher's like, 2 people plagiarized in this class. And she's like, and then the kid goes to New, oh, what did you get on yours? She's like, A. And then he shows the A, and then he's like, yeah, what did you really get? And he's like, ha ha ha. And then like he doesn't even say that he's the one. And then later on the coach is like, oh yeah, New plagiarized. So it wasn't even like the coach was like the one that confirmed it. It was so poor guy. I was like, dang, he got a lot, but he's such a he is a heartwarming figure and somebody that, you know, a lot of people can relate to. And that's what this the show does well, is have people that are relatable. All the players that they document, that they follow, that they highlight I should say, and show more of, are 5 players more than others. They're very animated, they're very dynamic, they make the the show pop. But it also makes you appreciate, you know, a lot of the junior college kids that we got at UH and the road that they take and where they've come from. And we've seen that, you know, with Colt Brandon. We see that in, you know, now with Blinn Junior College in Texas, like places that we've had. And, you know, and I think in the age of the internet, anything is possible. I mean, you saw that kid actually show RJ at the end of the show calling Utah State, calling Southern Utah, calling all kinds of schools to offer up his services. And that's a great hustle, and he ended up signing with the D2 team. It said like Tusculum, but at the end of the day, you know.
Wait, can I clarify one of my comments? When I meant ghetto school, I meant like not as affluent as UH, and like, you know, not all the amenities, the housing, and the, you know,
I know what you meant. It's fine. People use that word all the time.
Kevin, I'm sorry, Kevin. Yeah.
Had that
Okay. All right. All right. All
And
right.
that one part
All
too,
right. All right.
they went cut down San Jose State, right? Because the Ray was like, oh, he was all happy because he had got his first
Oh,
offer,
yeah.
but the dad told him, that's San Jose State. He was like,
I know.
oh, you gotta strive for something bigger than that. I was like,
And for most people, I wouldn't say that. For him, yeah, like if you, and it's not, you should still be excited. You should be excited if you're going to offer anything. But like, I can see it. Like the dad also died. So like, they were sharing a lot of memories of him. But you're right. A lot of people don't see schools that are not Power 5 schools as schools that they might want to attend, which is really crazy because those schools will take you. And like by the end, you see the college recruits coming to their campus, like D2 saying, our school's here, or like the school's like, we're in Bismarck, North Dakota. And then like the RJ kid was like, and he's like, yeah, you're not interested. He's like, no. He's like, no, I'm not going to North Dakota. But I mean, that's the grind of it, is that you got to go wherever you can go, Nu'u ended up going to Murray State in Kentucky, and he had his wife, and they have 2 kids. So like, I'm happy that he found a place. I don't know. I think he needs to work harder. It looked like the coach was saying he needs to work harder. I don't think he does work hard. I think he gets by a lot, and he could be an NFL player if he really wanted to. So it's a lot of those challenges that we don't get to see as fans. That we don't get to see. The stories even of the coaches and how their relationship with their wives and their families, and I thought that was captured very well as well. But
so when you see the background of things, you get more a bigger sense of appreciation for the bigger picture, because graduating from college was very challenging. It was graduating from college was one of the most difficult obstacles I've ever had to go through in my life. And I think if I had to like add on practice and working and all this thing, I was like, oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like how we talk about Nu'u, and it gives you an appreciation for sports too, because you're looking at these kids, and without football, a lot of these kids probably would be in gangs, or they'd be dead, or they'd be in jail. Because like the beginning episode, Nu'u said he was working at Walmart checking the receipt, checking
for minimum wage.
Meter, but then he didn't until he contacted Laney. So it's like helping these kids. It's just you get all this appreciation for all these things in life, and it's just it's pretty. It hits you. It hits you, man.
Yeah, just the sacrifice that they have to make. It's incredible.
Well, with that being said, with all of that being said, I will say that Dior has his Cash App in his Venmo probably too, in his like handle. And with that being said, if you are a donor to UH, if you are a booster, if you have season tickets, because you have to pay a premium fee, do not give him money, because that's a violation. So I as much as we want to help him, if we at UH and the UH boosters do so, and that's something that the school should be talking about too. But I'll do the job there and talk about that. But it's a good opportunity to highlight a very special person as well. I think what he has been through, his arguments with his dad, going to live with his mom in Arkansas, and then coming back to Oakland, and then the dad, wanting him to live with him. But there's a scene when he comes back to the dad, and the way the dad, he's a lot like a normal dad. He is a lot like a normal dad, but he definitely takes it to the next level with like his criticisms and the way that he is. So Dior has to deal a lot with that, and I think like he'll find a lot of Dior like that attitude of the people here, and I'm sure he's just enjoyed just kicking back and not having to worry about much. I'm sure it's also been frustrating being locked down too, so he probably hasn't really been able to do much. But that just leaves us with hopefully we see him on the field. And when is that going to happen, Shane? When is that going to happen?
Oh man, I hate to say it, but I don't think it's happening, man. And then watching like the Teletron, shout out to the Light Sweepers, and hey, good appearance on the Teletron last night.
Oh yeah, shout out to
yeah. how Rob DeMello was one of our first guests, and he said that football is such a gigantic money-making, entity that he just can't see it not happen because it's just too much money being lost. But oh man, I can't fathom us playing. I can't see it happening.
I mean, the best option would be, Rob's not wrong about that, but the fact is that they are all watching one person, whoever basically SEC commissioner. Basically, if I'm going to pinpoint to one person, it's him. And that's crazy. We're going to wait for that. But the Power 5, you just got to let them do their stuff. The mid-majors are the ones. Craig Thompson's still not doing anything. Making any new, and the fact is it's not easy. I'm not saying it is easy for him. So it's not a criticism of him, but it's also the fact is it is hard to get on with whatever life, right? Like, Coach Robin Omo talking about, at least the Wahine, they're sad, but at least they know what's going on. At least they have a plan now. Like, why are you keeping them on pins and needles all this time? They want to get, they want to train, they want to get ready for the season, but they don't even know if they're going to play. So you have that issue. And then you have, the fact that while all of this is going on, are they making the schedule possible for spring, for fall sports to happen in the spring, which is going to be difficult, but they do need the money, like you said. So they would rather go ahead with the football season that might stop halfway, might stop in the first game, might not even make them to the first game, or let half the kids, whatever, get infected. And you want a hamajang season, that's what you would prefer. And that's the thing that's bothersome is not even like the Penn State athletic director. She talks a lot about how she's not for spring football, and okay, try and make it work in the fall then. And then when something does happen to a player, and the parents come after you, I don't know what you're gonna do. So,
well, football and to a lesser degree the basketball, those are the things that power the athletic departments. So, I just feel like they gotta try. They're gonna try, come hell or high water. They're gonna try to shove this.
Oh, we're not saying they're gonna try. They're gonna try in the fall. That's the problem. They're gonna try in the fall.
Yeah.
They're gonna try in a world that's worse off than we were in March when we went into lockdown the first time.
But they need that money to pay for the other sports. So it's now.
They're not going to be able to get through the season. They're not going to be able to get through the season. How are they going to get through the season?
Is even spring still on the table? Because I know you guys.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're not talking about it at all. They're not talking about it at all because the Power 5 schools don't want spring.
They don't want spring, right? Yeah.
They already said they don't want it. The ones who are smart have been talking about spring. The smart people in the room have been talking about spring for 3 months now. And in those time, 3 months, 4 months, we could have had a spring schedule put together already.
Yeah.
So,
but that would have been kind of like basketball, though, right? Because it would have been spring, play a season, and then you get your next fall season. So it would have been like this super long season.
Yeah, so already as it is, we've already have non-conference games. So it's already a disjointed season. If that's what you guys want, if people just want hamajang seasons, then go, we can have that. But I don't see how that happens, and I don't even know how we're gonna do it in California because the schools already said San Diego State, San Jose State, Fresno State already said they cannot play. So this is what's confusing about the Mountain West is we should have just, even the Mountain West just has its own spring. Just do your own thing, whatever. It's up to you guys. You can play however you want, but the NCAA isn't, helpful at all because they have no control over FBS football. They're at the whims of the Power 5 athletic directors and presidents, and then we get whatever scraps are next, and then we keep dropping the scraps further down the chain. But when we're not being fed at the very top, like some of these guys are, we don't even have a chance to keep, even if we go along with the season, because it's their TV money. Because how are we paying? That's what I'm saying. How are we paying for it? Just on TV money? I guess TV money alone.
Our big money games, our Pac-12 games, are off the table.
I know exactly.
That's where the money's at. So outside of playing for a Mountain West championship, it's what are we doing?
No, and of course we're all in. If we have to play, we can do it safely. But when you don't have the protocols in place, you're asking for it to happen. We know this. It's like the Major League Baseball, like just was hoping and praying. Like it's just stupid. Like you just think that.
You guys had better watch baseball this week because it's not going to be on.
Yeah,
for long.
I mean,
like seriously.
The best part, honestly, of extra innings, maybe they should keep the international rule with the runner on second. It makes the games go by faster in extra innings. So, but you know, like I feel like we are just at the whims, like I said, as fans, of people who have only moneyed interests at stake. For us, we have emotional interests. This is why. That's what gets in the way. For them, it's money gets in the way of rationality. For us, it's emotion that gets in the way of us being rational. Because we just wanted to see something happen. But if we're just being completely impartial and irrational, I don't see it. I mean, but then again, this is also America that wants kids to go back to the classroom. So, but Sean's going to be there right along with them, right, Sean? But talk about that,
crazy.
Sean. Talk about that. You go to school. Those kids got to go to school too, right? And then play football.
Right. It's so a little birdie told me that high school football in the spring is being talked about.
Yeah,
they're talking about pushing it back.
Yeah,
I'm not going to drop no names or anything, but
no, I mean it's been talked about. It's been talked about because it's been dropped in the media by the big coaches.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The bigger coaches in every sport, the loudest mouths, the biggest commissioners, and in Hawaii, Ron Lee, Rod York, everybody's been calling for it. So obviously, if your best schools are calling for it, they're going to talk about it. But at Hawaii, we're just like waiting for the scraps. Like, what are you guys going to do up there? Oh, great in Pac-12. Oh, great SEC. It's like we're still waiting to come up with a plan. And even for us now, at this point, even if those guys go ahead with their seasons, we're independent of them anyways. We have nothing to do with them. So that's the thing that's crazy. Sorry.
Well, what I've been told is they want the California schools to act first, and then Hawaii will kind of follow in step because Hawaii doesn't want to cancel, and then the California schools go ahead and do it.
But CIF already canceled. So going back to the California schools, CIF already canceled the fall, pushed back stuff to January 1st, 2021. So, but they might have football, like you said. They might push it. But why are we waiting for California? Why? Why does it matter?
That's what was told to me.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm saying people say things all across town, though, Sean, and that's why it's the job of the people who know a lot about sports to be able to talk the rationality of those statements. And yes, California was one of the first. Obviously, California Cal State schools in May. That didn't take very long. April. CIF, it's been about a month since the CIF, right? Or weeks since the CIF decided that they were going to postpone the California Interscholastic Federation. So everybody else is moving. I mean, so we got to figure out. I mean, I know that the main objective for our governor in Hawaii, at least, is just to, worship all of the tourism industry people and hope that they never leave us. But right now, the point is like we might not escape this for a while. It might not be. It might be a while.
Yeah, if we're having over 100 cases a day, there's not going to be much of anything going on.
Yeah.
That's the honest.
But I mean, the point is, like, do you want a season that is probably going to be like, do you want a season? Is it worth it to you? That's what I'm saying. As fans, we need to be like, I don't want it. I don't want a season that's just going to stop. Yeah. This Major League Baseball season is BS, really. It's just like whatever. Even 60 games, like you're gonna get a champ, and it's gonna be like, woo, you won in the year where nobody played. We didn't have a full season.
Yeah, exactly.
At least in the NBA, the season started. At least in the NBA, the season started. And the MLS, it was one tournament. Like at least like that happened. The NFL, in the absence of the bubble, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, the NFL is kind of more in line with what the MLB is trying to do. Whereas the NBA and the MLS have their bubbles, so which seems a lot more doable. Yeah. So, we're comparing apples and oranges. And the NFL is in the apples. So,
No, but we want it. Like the point is, look, people, we want the games. We do. We want them, and we're gonna hold our hope to the end, even if we are not optimistic because that's what fans do. But at the end of the day, it's not only fair, and this is something we've talked about since I started doing these shows, is that we are not going to be just reciting whatever you read somewhere in the rest, on Twitter or some television news, whatever, right? This is just like unadulterated. We're talking about stuff that is the reality of the situation, and not, the SEC is put out a schedule. Like, everybody get excited. That's the media narrative. Everybody get excited, right? Like, keep building, instead of like saying what's obvious. And then they have columnists, obviously. Okay, so Brad has been talking about there's a Cole McDonald YouTube page, so I guess you can go and find that. I want to have Cole on here soon, so hopefully I'm supposed to have him.
There's a Cole McDonald YouTube?
I guess he has his own YouTube. Yeah, a YouTube.
Oh.
And he said Japan baseball, and you're right, Japan baseball. He likes it. He's a Chiba Lotte Marine fan.
The NFL is having some pretty big stars opt out.
Yeah. And then didn't it say that the NFL is now getting concerned because they think that players that are on the bubble of making a team, then they're gonna use the opt out and still get paid, right? Because they,
I mean, it's a lot less than what you're getting paid, but at the same time, these players need to. I mean, like if they don't try out, especially if you're on the bubble of training camp, like. Your goal is to at least get on the team this year and just hope that you're on the team because, like, who knows what next year will bring. I think with Cole, like, I think it's good. Like, I don't think they signed any other quarterbacks, so I'm hoping he doesn't actually have to compete for a spot. But who else opted out? I know Devin McCourty didn't opt out, but he was looking to it, right? Or did he opt out already? Devin McCourty. I know one of the brothers, right, opted out?
Yeah, was it their...
Well, Damian Williams, you want to go back and watch my show on Wednesday. Sorry, Damian Williams, the Chiefs player, scored a touchdown. I talked about that,
I forget the exact number of players that have opted out. But I mean, it's significant. So
that's going to be a big story. This has been just a crazy sports year. Thank you, everybody, for, Shane and Sean. You guys have been really good of just staying afloat with me and, trying to get wean as much sports as we can out of the world. But I encourage everybody to watch the show, Last Chance U. It's fun. Support UH football. Support Hawaii sports fans. Like my page. Like this page. Like us on Facebook. We don't know. I've been lucky to lead about 20 tours. So UH football games. We went to Ohio State. We went to Australia. Went to Michigan. All over. Navy. But... the uncertainty is real here as well. If there's no football with fans, I don't do Hawaii sports fans. That's kind of the whole point, as a Hawaii sports fans and taking people to games. So there's uncertainty for all of us, but I think we all have to evolve. We all have to change, and we all have to, find a way to make the most of this situation. So I think everybody loves UH football. Everybody's willing to, continue to be fans, even if they got to sit one out. In 2021, even Shane is already having to, think of all the new delicious food places he's gonna try on Saturday nights now instead.
Sheesh. Oh man.
I still didn't find the boba ice cream bars, by the way.
Oh, it's all over now. Now I think that because the hype is dying down, I see them all over.
The hype will never die for boba. Okay, yeah. Maybe the bars, because I haven't got them, so I gotta go back up and try them. But
yeah.
Throw me some boba bars my way if anybody has some.
Changed my life.
Okay, I'm gonna go look for them.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, but like seriously, shout out to Cabot, Aaron, Light Sleepers, and Sleep Time's Over. They raised a lot of money for buying laptops for kids. For the keiki yesterday. So, in a world full of yucky stuff, that it was really nice to see that yesterday. Yeah. So
over $10,000, $10,550 lifetime. Yeah. Light Sleeper as well. Amazing work. Mahalo to everybody for watching. For Shane Agno Lalohead, for Sean Iman, I'm Wayne Coito. We'll see you guys next time. Aloha.
Go Bulls.